offseason when they started accumulating the speed, guys like Hill and Mostert and all that, did you kind of see that this is coming? And what's it like watching kind of your offense executed with all of that speed? How much does it jump out?
Oh, it's cool to watch. I mean, right when he got Tyreek, you knew how much that was going to help. I mean, just Tyreek's, there's a number of fast people in this league, and to me, he's different than everyone else probably ever. Just the physicality and speed he runs with. So just some of the things that they can do with him is cool to watch. But, you know, the question was watching Tua in the offense, and I wasn't totally sure of that. And I remember turning it on in the preseason and watching his first game, and I was like, wow, this guy looks totally different and looks very comfortable. And then turned it on in week one, and I thought he was playing in week one as good as anyone in this league, and I don't think he's had a game not like that.
Kyle Shanahan with some praise for Tua Tagovailoa and the Mike McDaniel offense. He compared him to Matt Schaub in a good way. Matt Schaub had some very good seasons with Kyle Shanahan, getting rid of the ball quickly. As soon as the back foot is planted, the ball's out. Quick decisions, efficiency of running the offense. And that's what we've seen from Tua all year long, at least in the games he's played. And he's undefeated, Chris, in the games that he has played.
Yeah, he's been great. There's no question. And it's the ultimate, litmus test or whatever of, hey, wait, let's find an offense that fits our quarterback and, accentuates his strengths and limits his weaknesses a little bit. And that's where he's at. And it's awesome to see. It really is. And really, that's the way every team should be for their quarterback. There's a few quarterbacks out there that we've discussed that they could run any offense. It doesn't really matter. But most of the league needs a little bit of tweaking and things to make it work for that quarterback. So he's been amazing, and so have the Dolphins in general. They're so fun to watch. Both sides of the ball are attack. They got speed on both sides of the ball, and they got creativity within the coaching. So this to me is like, we got some good games this week, but I can't believe this game is at 4:05 on Sunday. I mean, this might be the game of the week, and it's at 4:05 on Sunday, and I'm excited about that because I'll be able to focus on it a little bit more. But damn, this is going to be a good one between that Dolphins offense and that 49ers defense.
I'd say Chiefs-Bengals is still a click above it, but I agree with you. This rematch of Super Bowl 19, which was hyped to be it was the first really disappointing Super Bowl I can remember where the hype going into it was relentless in early 1985, and it just didn't deliver because the 49ers kicked the crap out of the Dolphins that year. But that's the first topic for our grab bag is the 8-3 Dolphins take on the 7-4 49ers. Take your pick. Who has the edge in this one from a coaching standpoint? Kyle Shanahan or Mike McDaniel?
It's a tough one here. I'm going to go with Mike McDaniel here. Okay, and not necessarily because of, that he knows something more than Shanahan. Obviously, everything he learned is from the Shanahan family there. But where I give him the advantage is he knows more about DeMeco Ryan than Kyle Shanahan knows about Boyer, the defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. I think that's where I look at it. He's going to go, wait, I remember in practice, we used to do this, and this, and it gave DeMeco Ryan and our defense some issues. Ooh, so I might try to work on that a little bit. Where Shanahan is not going to have that, luxury and not going to know exactly how, his offense will be attacked by that Dolphins defense. So that's where I'll give him a little bit of advantage in this one.
I'll give McDaniel an edge as well for another very important reason. We talk from time to time about how coaches will be very strategic in how much they share with assistants because they understand at some point that assistant may end up being a rival head coach, and you never know where guys are going to end up. So you hold certain things back. I think Mike McDaniel just has a way that he could maybe get Kyle to be accidentally loose with certain things, and maybe Kyle has opened the vault a little bit more for him unwittingly because McDaniel is
agree with that.
The best kind. He's the best kind of smart. He's smart that doesn't ooze it. Like he doesn't feel compelled to remind everybody he went to Yale, and I mean he's just kind of this cool guy, and he's got a good demeanor, and he's got a good way. It's very disarming, and he may have gotten Kyle to share some things that he will now use against Kyle given the opportunity. And he'll be saying some things to Josh Boyer about what to look for and how Kyle will try to attack and the traps they may want to set to counter what he knows Kyle will do.
I don't disagree with what you're saying there. I don't. And McDaniel has got that way about him, right? He answers a question slow and does all this stuff. And you're like, man, is he really that smart? Is he that smart? I'm not sure. So you're right about that. And I wouldn't be, shocked too if, like most of football, all right? And I'm not trying to take a shot here because you and I were believers, but I think most of people in football thought Mike McDaniel could never be a head coach in the NFL. And, maybe the 49ers coaches thought the same thing too. Maybe he opened the vault for him thinking, nobody will hire this guy. He's a nerd from Yale, and they're not going to want him to lead the locker room, to where maybe he did get a few things shared with him that maybe most assistants wouldn't be. But either way, man, that offense versus this defense, the 49ers defense versus that Dolphins offense, wow, is that going to be awesome to watch. It really is. I can't wait for this one. I actually think, Mike, I'd put it a smidgen. For me personally, I think it's my favorite game of the week, even over the Chiefs and Bengals.
Yeah, you make a great point, though, and this is kind of what I was trying to articulate, and you did it better than I did. The idea that when you look at your staff and you're assessing the threat potential as to which of these guys may end up being a thorn in my side twice or maybe 3 times a year if they land in my division, Mike McDaniel is going to be low on that threat assessment. He's going to be the guy you're more likely to be real with and be open with because, I don't know. Maybe after a while, Shanahan realized, boy, this guy really knows his shit. Maybe I shouldn't have said those things I said about how I really go about attacking defenses because he's not going to forget it and he's going to use it against me. Either way, we get to see the first opportunity of McDaniel and Shanahan against each other. And unfortunately, it's not going to happen very often because they're in different conferences. All right, Chiefs at Bengals, the game of the afternoon, 4:25 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Nationally televised, or for the most of the nation will be seeing it. Fill in the blank. The Bengals can hold off the top-seeded Chiefs if they what, Chris?
Oh, I think the thing I'll go with there is if they can just protect Joe Burrow, to where he can, not that he needs a ton of time because he's playing phenomenal right now and just has the right feel and knows what his team is and getting the ball out of his hands quickly. But if he has to hold the ball a little bit in some situations and Spagnuolo covers some people and things there, that could be disaster in some ways. I think I look at it that way. I expect the Chiefs to be ready for some of the things the Bengals do on the defensive side of the ball. To me, it's the Bengals offense that has turned the corner here in the last few weeks, and the offensive line is playing better. If they protect Burrow enough, I think he'll have enough opportunities with a healthy Jamar Chase to hit some shots down the field like we saw, or, again, just get the ball off in the little short areas to where they can run after the catch. But, man, Burrow played great last week against a really good defense, and they're getting kind of scary, the Bengals, right now. That's kind of what I look at, Mike. What about you?
Well, and that's how I'll finish this sentence. The Bengals can hold off the Chiefs if they have a fully healthy, non-decoy Jamar Chase. Not just trot him out there so they burn up extra resources
main
to
coy.
Neutralize him. But he, the guy who's the main coy, not the decoy. If he's back to the guy that he was before the hip injury, then I think the Bengals can pull it off. And it plays into their hands. They're 2.5-point home underdogs against the Chiefs, and they have done a great job of just kind of staying under the radar. They don't have the bullseye on their back. The AFC champions from 2021 entered the season as an afterthought. Everybody's focused on the Bills and the Chiefs and the Bills and the Chiefs. And here are the Bengals just checking the boxes one at a time, piling up the wins. And even after they beat the Titans, I feel like there hasn't been this pivot to, oh, crap, the Bengals are pretty good. It's more of, well, okay, we'll feel differently once the Chiefs beat them this week. I'm not so sure that the Chiefs will. Jets, Vikings.
I'm with you, Mike.
7-4.
Yeah.
7-4 Jets, 9-2 Vikings. Scale of 1 to 10. What is your confidence level that future Hall of Famer Mike White can replicate his Week 12 performance against the Vikings when they get together on Sunday?
Well, all right. So I didn't get to do my podcast yesterday because, I was sick, right? And I of course, watched that Jets game thoroughly. It was such a hot button topic. And, my first off, my confidence level on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to say is a 7. I'm going to put it like somewhat high. We've already discussed this. This is not a Minnesota deep. Everybody moves the ball in Minnesota. Everybody up and down the field. It does not matter. I mean, even the Bears did before Justin Fields and the running game was broken out. They were moving the ball up and down the field. So that's where I, again, will stand by that. I think the Jets made a huge mistake in benching Zach Wilson. Last week's game, it couldn't have been any easier for a quarterback. If you made me go, who had the easiest job last week out of any quarterback in football, I'd go Mike White. I mean, this is one of his most high-level throws of the day right there. Really good throw, right? Boom. All right. And then most of the throws were like this. Oh, hey, there's a guy 5 yards away. Wow, whoop-de-doo. And I'm not trying to take it away from Mike White. He did what he was supposed to do. Again, but that's a Bears defense that right now, somebody go back and watch that game. Tell me how many times you got to look at the roster and go, wait, who's this guy on the Bears? Who's this guy on the Bears? I don't know who this guy is, let alone they had their 3 best defensive players not even playing. So, I think it bodes well for him, again, to have a successful day. I don't know if they're going to win, but I bet you he puts up pretty good stats because they got some talent. And, of course, this Vikings defense, as we've discussed a few times already, is not all that great. They're not the purple people eaters.
And the reality is the Jets are not quite the New York Sack Exchange yet, but they're pretty damn good defensively, and that's going to pose some threats to the Vikings. Although I still, look, we saw how bad the Vikings were Week 11 against the Cowboys. But against that Patriots defense, I saw a different Kirk Cousins. And who knows which Kirk Cousins is going to show up. You got the Kirk Cousins who freaks out and collapses under pressure. And it's just he knows he can't run away from it, and he just kind of folds, or he gets hit and the ball comes out while he's trying to run away. The guy last Thursday night was confident, assertive, stepping up in the pocket, moving away from pressure, extending plays, taking the check down with authority, not just treating it as I got nowhere else to go. But hey, hope, zoop, there it goes. Hey, you're taking JJ away. Oh, I got a guy underneath. Oh, you're going to follow JJ. Oh, I got Adam Thielen. I mean, there was a level of focus and determination that kind of came through the TV last Thursday night, which was very different than what we saw on Sunday against the Cowboys, Chris.
Yeah, you're right. And really, hey, let's be fair. Sunday against the Cowboys was really about the only time this year we saw Kirk Cousins look like that, if we're going to be fair to him, right? He has been, again, he's never going to be the magic man and make plays happen outside the pocket, but level of play, aggressiveness, making big plays in big moments is as good as we've ever seen. And I got to think that's the Kevin O'Connell effect. Having the offensive coach being that guy, giving him confidence, telling him how good he is, instead of it sounds like, the last coach he had was not necessarily a believer in him. And if you're a quarterback, you can feel that when wait, my coach doesn't really believe in me. So I think that's what we're seeing here. And, it's exciting to see. And the other thing, Mike, I like is, hey, we know he's throwing for a lot of yards. He's throwing... Again, this is where I push, he's throwing more interceptions this year, I feel like, than we're seeing in years past, too. You know why? Because he's pulling the trigger and going, we're going to go win the game instead of I'm going to play not to lose and mess up the game here. And again, I think, that's a big part of the game right now in 2022. And I think you see, again, a lot of the good teams, their quarterbacks throw a few interceptions because they're trying to make plays and flip field position and do all that. And we're seeing that in Minnesota.
And one of the things that drove Mike Zimmer crazy was that Kirk Cousins wouldn't do it. But when the flip side is if you do it and it doesn't work, the coach is going to tear you a new one, then why are you going to do it? So Kirk Cousins has somebody who fully supports him now to go do it. And if it doesn't work, he's not going to yell at him or blame him. And again, that was just the coaching style. That's what worked for a generation, if not a lot longer than that. But the game has changed now. The relationships have changed. And you're right. And, I think back to last week, and I was wrong about this. And I'll admit it, and I'll own it. When I said I don't like all this talk from the coach and from the players that were still 8-2 after getting their asses blasted by the Dallas Cowboys 40-3. I thought that was a loser mentality. Well, it was the right approach because O'Connell knew how to build everybody back up. And
right. That's what. Yep.
Again and go out. And that was your point. They don't want them to fall apart and crumble. They want to remember they know how to win football games. And I thought that what they did last Thursday night was every bit as important to the long-term interest of this team than what they did in Buffalo, because they got it together after that debacle.
Yeah.
And they went toe-to-toe with a great team, great coach, and they got a win that I think they're always going to remember. Let's take a break. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.